Political analyst here with us now, and a potpourri of topics to get to. And let's start out, Tom, with the concealed carry bill. And it seemed to me as if the proponents of this bill felt really confident they had the votes this time around. What changed here? What made this thing fail?
Well, I think after the governor suggested that he was going to veto it, took the wind out of a lot of people's sails. I mean, this is a piece of legislation where in Springfield, everybody was on their own, which means a lot of people weren't being told how to vote by somebody of larger stature. So in this particular case, especially for the downstaters, conceal and carry is important. Proponents are arguing to the fact that in other states, crime has actually gone down where you have conceal and carry. Illinois, we have some of the toughest gun laws here in the city of Chicago, and we have high crime rates compared to other states where they have conceal and carry. So they made a good argument. They fell a few votes short. This is not going to go away. Eventually, it's going to come back, and I think eventually, maybe not in this particular session, that this thing is going to see the light of day. I mean, there are a lot of people that I know, and you know, and others know, that are packing right now that work in tough neighborhoods. This just makes it legal.
The other issue that was, again, a pretty close vote, medical marijuana, and I guess the whole notion that this bill was about health care and not about drug use didn't resonate with quite enough people.
Right. There was a legislator who was a former FBI official that gave an impassioned speech on the floor, which moved some votes. But Representative Lou Lang has been making an effort at this legislation. He's from Skokie. Right. He's been pushing this constantly. When I was in Springfield a couple of weeks ago, I actually ran into some people that were lobbying for this issue. A gentleman who has multiple sclerosis, and you know, they made an impassioned plea how this helps with their pain and helps with the suffering that they go through. And I'm convinced that it helps these people. They do it now, and they use it illegal marijuana. And I think this is going to come back. It's on postponed consideration, which means this legislation could come back for a vote this session before the end of May. So it may come back, and it may pass yet.
Right. A lot of passion on both sides of that issue.
Tough issue.
Yeah. Well, same with concealed carry. Yeah. And then on a more of a local basis, even than those two issues involving Mayor Daley, and he's even admitted now that he is looking for a security detail. So I want to ask you, just what's the precedent here, and what is appropriate, and what do you suppose will, in the end, be the resolution?
Well, you're talking of a gentleman who's been mayor for since 1988-87. Before that, he was the state's attorney, which might be more cause for having protection, because as state's attorney, he sent a lot of people up the river. He put people away for a long time, put people on death row. There's a lot of issues as state's attorney that you deal with that it's not necessarily public, but there are a lot of death threats, etc. In this age, when we have economic issues here in the city, and you're spending $500,000 for protection, that's an issue that the aldermen are going to have to deal with. But he's our mayor of the city of Chicago. You might not need 5, but maybe 1 or 2 protection people for Maggie and the Mayor Daley. I think it's probably a reasonable thing. But you review that every 3 or 4 or 5 years as you get farther away from the office and farther away from the incumbency. But it's certainly something. Anything to happen to Mayor Daley or his family because you were trying to save $300,000 and make a political point because he's no longer the mayor. I think that's a tough vote. I think he gets his protection. Probably not 5, but probably 1, 2, or 3. All
right, we'll see where that goes. By the way, were you surprised Mayor Daley hasn't driven a car since 1980? Did you hear that?
No. Governor Jim Thompson, who's I consider a friend of somebody who's been around for a long time, hasn't gotten into a cold car since the late 70s. I mean. And that's the bottom line when you have people around you like that. So that's got a lot of fun. I thought that was a funny thing to say.
It is interesting. Tom, thanks for being here.